So I have a question for you.
All right, you're full of questions.
I'm full of tons of questions. If I asked you what color you are, what would your response be? Like not your flesh color, but if you were a color, if your personality were a color, what color would you be? You are listening to the Recovering Preacher's Kids podcast with Lisa and Lori.
Okay. Oh, I guess if I'm quite honest, I think my color would be tan.
Tan. So out of a 64 pack of crayons, you would be a tan. What color do you think you were born?
That I don't have a clue. I don't have a clue.
So I have a theory going here. I have been going through a season recently where I am learning that I want to be invisible.
Mm,
That I've lived my adult life. Well, if I'm being honest, I probably lived most of my life because when I was a teenager, I tried to like blend in with the crowd. So I
mhm.
wore what other people wore, fixed my hair how they fixed it. Girl, you remember Teen Beat? I'd get Teen Beat and I'd fix my hair like they fixed their hair and did their makeup like they did their makeup. I wanted to be like everybody else. And so I was a chameleon. And then I'm coming to learn that as an adult, I have spent my adult life trying to not be seen. And like you, I feel like my color is very beigeish,
Just
very neutral. I don't want to be noticed. And
bland.
so it kind of got me thinking about flamingos and how flamingos, when they're raising their children, they lose their color and then because they're like energy and everything's directed to their kids and then after their little chicks become chicklets they like get their color back, they get their pink back. And so it kind of got me, just I've started going down this rabbit hole of what if I was born purple and like through life experience and trauma and all that I have turned beige. And so how do you get your purple back?
I do not know. I do not have that answer. Can I defer? Can I call a friend?
Phone a friend.
But I will have to say, though, it's funny you say that. You think you've lost your purple, but from my point of view, it's like, geez, I wish I was purple. I wish I was like Lori and have that purple personality.
Interesting. So do you think that we never lose our color and our flair and instead but in our own mind we think we have? Because I'm going to tell you I don't I get terrified if strangers talk to me or the thought of talking to someone I'm going on vacation in a couple of weeks and I literally cried today. And my husband's like,
Hi.
"Why are you crying?" I'm like, "Because we are gonna be surrounded by a whole bunch of strangers in a couple of days." And he was like, "Okay." I'm like, "People I don't know. People I don't know are gonna talk to me." And he was like, "Okay." And I said, I just don't know what I'm gonna do." And he was like, "We're gonna talk to them. I mean, it's all gonna be okay." And it's just like everywhere I turn, I'm realizing that like there's strangers in this world and I need to interact with them and I don't know how.
So you're just figuring out that there's strangers in this world.
Well, no, I've always known there's strangers in the world. I just have never thought about I need to interact with them
Mhm. Well, we call
because
stranger danger.
Yeah, well, I mean, because if I go in the grocery store and I keep my head down and I don't pay attention to anyone around me, then I don't have to talk to them. And my husband's over here, making best friends with the lady that needs the green beans. And it's just really gotten me. I guess, sometimes we go through our lives where different aspects of our lives get under a microscope. Do you ever feel that way? Like every
Mhm.
which way you turn, that thing, whether it be a sin or a thing you need to work on, a recovery aspect, it's like God just keeps bringing it up over and over. And right now, for the past probably 3 months, over and over, this is just being brought up continually that I want to be invisible, but I can't
Yep.
be invisible. And then I go down the rabbit hole. Why do I want to be invisible? Lori, if you're invisible, then you can't share Jesus with others, and if you're invisible, you miss out on the things God has for you. And then because my mind has 782 tabs open, I switch over to the tab that says, "How many things have I missed because I've remained invisible?" And then the tab flips and I'm like, "Oh my goodness." I mean, it
Yeah, it
just keeps
just goes.
going.
I feel you. I have no answers. I really don't because I struggle with it. And I don't think I do a good job in like talking to people. I don't know.
Mm,
Um, it really scares me.
mm,
But I was sitting in the waiting room with my daughter-in-law's mother while we were sitting there waiting for our grandchild to be born, um, on the other Monday night, and we got in a conversation, and, I forgot how it came about, and she asked me a question, and I made the statement, I was like, "I literally get sick to my stomach if I have to walk in somewhere that I do not know anybody and I have to interact." I said, "I literally have to pep myself up before I go in." And I said, "And literally some days I'm like, if I know I'm going to do this, for days, I'm like this." And she looks at me and she goes, "What?" She goes, "No, you don't." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I do." She's like, "I think you interact with people very well." I'm like, "Well, it's probably because I've been standing outside the door having my panic attack, telling myself I can do this, telling myself to suck it up. I got to go in there and do it." And I said, "But after it's all over, I'm exhausted for 2 days for having that exertion." And it's weird. And I don't know why. I mean, I really don't know why I'm that way. And in some ways, I know I want to be invisible. I don't want to have attention drawn to myself. I don't want people to pick me apart over something that I've said or, you know, but then it's also like, I don't know, it was like a duty growing up, being in the churches. It was like a duty to me that maybe, I don't know if you felt that way, but I felt like it was my duty. We had to speak to people, and it literally causes me considerable anxiety. And I'll be honest with you today. And I mean, the people at church might see it in me. I literally sometimes struggle and cannot go speak to new people. And that's horrible. That's horrible because I should be
no.
going and speaking and welcoming people. But it literally causes a deep anxiety in me to go up and speak to people I don't know.
It's interesting that you say that because, like, to sit here and record this podcast, it don't bother me at all. I
Or
can
yes, complete.
anxiety. Um, I can stand up in front of my life group class at church of about 40 women and talk about God's word, like do a lesson,
Mhm.
teach a lesson. Doesn't bother me. But the thought of talking to a visitor makes me wanna vomit. It's the
Mhm.
one-on-one.
Mhm.
And as you were talking about the churches, I can remember, because we were the preacher's kid and we lived in a glass house. I can remember, like, saying something or doing something that someone else deemed wrong, and they
Mhm,
would go tell mama or
mhm,
daddy,
mhm,
"Lori said this, Lori did this,"
mhm.
whatever. And so I'm wondering if maybe it stems from that a
Yep.
little bit, is that I feel like, as a child, did I teach myself, okay, if you just be invisible and you smile and nod and
Mhm,
wave and you be the parade that everybody wants. And and I mean, that's sad. As believers, we shouldn't be that way. We shouldn't look at a pastor and his kids and his family as any different and have an expectation of them that we don't have for our own
mm,
children.
mhm. Which led me to when things like that happen, and I still do it today, I go over a conversation or what I rehearse
I do
what I'm gonna
too.
say to somebody before I go and say it to make sure that what I'm saying sounds okay. Does that sound crazy?
Nope, because I do the exact same thing. And then I get upset when the conversation doesn't go the way we rehearsed in my head.
Right.
I wanna look at the person and say, "We rehearsed this in my head. That is not what you were supposed to say."
So then they throw me for a loop. But I mean, I even though I can remember in school and, you're the questions, you're in class or whatever and questions are coming in, I'm, like, rehearsing my answer so it sounds alright.
Okay, so I this is so embarrassing, and I cannot believe I'm fixing to share this story, but as you were talking about school, this is what came to my mind. I can remember being in the 7th grade, maybe 6th grade, something like that. Like, I think it was probably, I guess, I don't know, maybe 5th grade. I wasn't 2nd grade, you know what I'm saying? I wasn't that little, but I don't think I was a full teenager yet either,
Okay.
somewhere in the middle. And there was a birthday party, and do you remember Spin the Bottle?
I see it on
So
movies, but I never played spin the bottle.
so they I didn't either. They wouldn't let me play Spin the Bottle because they said I was too fat, and they would not let me play Spin the Bottle and made me get up from the circle and go sit on the couch while everybody else played Spin the Bottle. And here I am, 51 years old, and I still think about that. And so, isn't it interesting that the things that happen throughout school, like that people do, have such an effect? Because, like you said, like thinking about what to say, because as a 51-year-old woman, and I think about that story, I think you should have said this. Do
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
And it's
Uh-huh.
like, I think that we all have those little moments in our lives that then we gravitated towards the now, I wasn't enough for that. I wasn't enough to participate. My mama wouldn't have wanted me to play spin the bottle anyway. You know what I'm saying? I shouldn't have been doing that anyway. But the fact of the matter is that had a negative effect in my mind on my appearance.
Mm. So building on that, I don't think when you started out us talking, I don't think we can pinpoint it to one specific thing
Mm.
that happened that made you lose your color or make you think you lost your color or your color changed, I
Yeah.
I think it's events that happen throughout and they just kind of build on each other. And then I found where, oh, okay, well, I bust out and my colors come back. And then it was like I would have people say things back to me, and it's like, okay, well, I got to change my color back to that neutral color because that color was just too bright for them. They didn't like the new color that Lisa was.
So You think that we change ourselves, we make ourselves small, we change our color because we feel like our color makes someone else uncomfortable?
I think so. Yes, I think so. And then sadly, I've seen it how I've done it with my kids,
Mm,
you know? All 4 of my children are different. They all look differently, they all act differently, they all have different likes, um, and some of my biggest worry when they were growing up was they were gonna be left out, and unfortunately, they
mhm,
were, and, um, and it's been great to see them regain their color. Since we have that theme, um, but, I think I could take a lesson from them, and they struggle with it, don't get me wrong, they struggle with it, m but they go through seasons that they don't care
mhm,
what others think. This is who they are, and they're okay with that. I wish I could be that courageous, and maybe they've come to terms, I don't know. Um, but I catch myself trying to make them be like or encourage them to be like somebody else, or more like what society says. And the more I think about it, why in the world would I wanna do that right now? I mean, the things that society says right now that we should be are just crazy. You know what I'm
mhm,
saying? I mean, they're not even I don't even know the word. I don't wanna go down the rabbit hole of being political, but let's just be honest. Why in the world would I want or encourage my children to be like a society that is not godly?
mhm.
Does that make sense? Why?
Because I think that maybe we care more about do we have the sin of we care more about what the world says about us and our children and our grandchildren than we do about what God says about us and our
Mm,
children and our grandchildren? You know,
goes
I,
back
um,
goes back
I feel
to storing up treasures. Where are we storing up treasures?
because what is it that where your whatever is there, your heart is also where your treasure there where your heart
Mhm.
is, your treasure is also.
Treasure.
I'm getting that verse
Yeah,
wrong.
you want me to look that up? Let me
That
look.
I just quoted that verse like a car that the bumper's barely hanging on, you know what I'm saying? That was a bumper sticker that has seen better days right there. I know that was not correct. Um, but when we
Oh, I found it.
oh, what is it?
It's Matthew 6:21. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also.
So where's my heart?
Yeah.
Or
'Cause
where's all of our hearts?
19 starts where he's saying, "Do not store up for yourselves treasure on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourself treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." That's in Matthew 6, which is the Sermon on the Mount.
Well, I can remember when my daughter was about 3 or 4, we were walking out of a grocery store, and she was like, "You know what, mama? I march to the beat of my own guitar." And I laughed, and I'm like, "Yes, you do." And, as she grew up, I placed my insecurities on her, like you said, trying to make sure she fit in. I didn't w and it came from a good place.
Yeah.
I didn't want her to get made I didn't want her to have to sit on the couch while everybody played spin the bottle, you know? I
Mhm,
wanted her to fit in, and, I see it's almost I feel like now, like, I stole that from her. I stole that uniqueness, how she embraced her uniqueness as a child. Not that my daughter's not unique, I don't mean that, but as she was a teenager, I wouldn't let her be unique is the
mhm,
point I'm trying
mhm,
to make.
mhm,
And, I regret that so much, but like you were saying, I wish I could find it for myself now, and
mhm,
also for my adult children and my grandchildren to not get caught up in the same thing, to do it all over again. I wanna learn from that mistake, and not do it, but it's like I don't know where to start.
No idea. I have no words.
It
I
isn't
don't
it
know.
isn't it a
I don't know. Maybe we take time. Well, first of all, like you say, you learn the lesson and you be more diligent on not encouraging them to be where they are and how they are right now instead of trying to change or try to encourage them to change. But the better is being the example for them as far as being finding your color. Like, what color would you want to be?
so do you think it starts with you? It starts with you, like you talked
Mhm.
about having courage,
Mhm.
it starts with me having the courage. I think of did you ever see the movie Runaway Bride with
Mhm.
Julia
Yeah.
Roberts?
Yeah.
Okay, and you know, like, her favorite eggs were always the eggs of the guy that she was with, and then when she got with Richard Gere and
They
then
change.
she ran away from the wedding, there's, like, a scene, and she's got, like, scrambled eggs and fried eggs and poached eggs and boiled eggs and, you know, all these things, and at the end of the movie, she ends up, like, telling him scrambled, I think, and he's like, "What are you talking about?" And she was like, "That's how I like my eggs." And maybe there's a part of us that we need to just fix all the eggs the different way and figure out, like, "Nope, that's I don't like that because I don't like that,
Yeah.
not because someone told me not to like that." I don't mean something harmful, but does that make sense what I'm
No,
saying?
right, right. Yeah. I mean, because I know this is just a little thing, but can you remember? And I get it. I mean, being a preacher's kid, our family didn't have a whole lot of money. We got a lot of hand-me-downs. We got a lot of things that
Mhm.
people gave us, which I'm so thankful for. So I want to say that first. But then it was things that I didn't like when it came to clothes. Let's just say I
Mhm.
didn't like, but then it was, well, we couldn't hurt somebody's feelings because they gave it to you. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So then that also led to my, well, I have to do it to make somebody happy. But then there was times I would wear something. I'm using clothes for an example, and it might not have fit or looked right on me. So then you got made fun of, you know.
Mm.
So I think it does, since we're sitting here talking and we're talking about how things that influenced us of how we're raising our kids and now we're seeing it. I think it does start with us because I tell my girls and my sons all the time that, you know, yes, I did that. So now I got to undo what I taught you,
Mhm.
you know, so you don't make the same mistakes. And they're gonna do the same things to some extent with their kids, but I think it does have to start with us to say, "Well, okay, well, this is my color, and I'm gonna shine bright with my color and color brightly with it, and let them see that it doesn't bother you, so they do." So you might have
I
to remind me that because I don't like to be a bright color.
well, and that's kinda what's got me thinking is like, "What color am I? What color am I?" You know? I mean, there's a whole 64-pack box I get to pick, you know? And I don't and not to spiritualize it and, try to get super deep with it, but I look at our grandmother, our mom's mom, we called her Granny, and to me, she was the most colorful,
Mm,
exciting person that I personally have ever met in my life. She loved to joke. She
mhm.
loved to pick on people. She loved to pull pranks on people. She liked for you to prank her, you know? Um, she was very she appeared very confident in who she was as a woman in her little polyester pants and polyester shirt. You know, she
Little
just
purse on
didn't
her.
yeah, with her purse on her elbow, and sh she it appeared she never tried to conform to what the world told her she needed to be. Yet, our mom has one of her Bibles, and in the Bible, I was looking at it one time, and she's got tons of notes about anxiety and depression and not feeling worthy. and all these things, and she was going to God being like, "Hey, I'm feeling anxious." And she would underline, where God in God's word, times he was faithful, and her Bible has lots of other things in it, and it's been a long time since I've looked at it, so I don't wanna lie and say the wrong thing. But what I realized, I remember when I was looking through her Bible, I realized in the moment she struggled just like I do. She struggled with the same thing, you know, and the point I'm trying to get to is I think her worth was in what God said she was. Even though she struggled with all these other things, I think what made her so colorful was she said, "God, this is who I am. This is," and maybe that's my struggle. I don't want to speak for you, but maybe I haven't found my footing in who God says
Mm,
I am.
mhm. No, I think so. I think you're right. I think you got something, and it might be everybody. I don't know, but I do sit and wonder if it's a lot more us preachers' kids because struggling with who are we? Who does God say we are? Because you're constantly we're told you need to be something different, you know?
'Cause we
So
get
I
a list
yeah,
almost. Like, this person, the list is, "I want you to be this way," but then this
this
person's
person.
list is,
Mhm.
"I want you to be this way," and the the pursing of the lips and the look across the room and the walking by you and, "You shouldn't act that way. You're the preacher's daughter." I
Mhm.
mean, it's
Mhm.
like there were all these lists of who you're supposed to be. And I don't and I'm
So
not
now
mad at those people,
no.
I don't want it to come across that way. They had their own baggage they were dealing with,
Yeah. But
and
it
I'm
might
just
explain to some of these our friends who are listening who know us, like, it's an explanation of why we are the way we are.
look,
And why sometimes we've said things or want you to behave in a way or whatever, it's because 'cause we're all just struggling too. But, I mean,
yeah.
we're constantly told or reminded we're fearfully and wonderfully made. God made us unique.
Mhm.
We're not you keep referring to the 64 pack colors. They're not all purple. There's different shades of purple, there's different shades of blues, there's different shades of reds, there's different right? There's different shades, but the whole box is not the same color. So, you just have to find your blend maybe. Me too. Find my blend. And if my color is tan, maybe I just need to just change to the different shade or something in there. But
'Cause
see, I'm one of
what
these people that like, okay, I'm gonna do something, I want results now, I want it changed, I wanna do it here, da, 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 and then when it don't happen within 2 days, then I'm frustrated, that's it, I'm gonna give it up. It's over.
so what if this area of our life is a little blue, and then this area of our life is a little yellow? And then when the blue and the yellow start mixing, this area of our life is a little
It's a little
green.
green. Yeah.
Maybe I'm trying to make it hard. Maybe I'm trying to pigeonhole myself in
Oh,
this one thing. And God says, "You're more than that. You're more than purple."
that's interesting because if you take that to the fruit of the spirit, even though they're listed, there's what? Love,
No,
joy,
my
peace,
mind just went
and okay, I will have to look them up because I don't know them all.
self control,
Do I need to look 'em
love, peace, love. Okay. We said love a whole bunch of times. Love, peace, self control.
okay. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self control.
Ooh.
So, where I was thinking here is it doesn't say you're just one of these. You know what I'm saying? So, don't. Don't pigeonhole yourself into being the color purple, that's the only color you're supposed to be, because, when you read this Fruit of the Spirit, to me, they build on each other. You can't be joyful if you don't have love. You definitely can't be kind if you don't have love. But you don't get to pick which one. You know what I'm saying? Does that make
Mm,
sense? I mean,
makes
that's
us
all it is.
perfect
So,
sense.
maybe we're just supposed to have a blend of color in our life. It's just finding that blend of color.
Maybe we're supposed to be the 64 pack.
Maybe so. Maybe so. Just as long as I match. I need to match.
Well, I need the sharpener on the back because sometimes I get a little dull.
I don't know. I have no words of wisdom, no profound statement. But I think overall, what we're saying is there's probably everybody struggles with it. I mean, we all probably feel the same way. And we're so caught up in trying to be like somebody else. I mean, our media and our social media tells us constantly we're supposed to be like this person, imitate so and so. I mean, you think about it, and I don't want to get on the Taylor Swift thing, but you think about the influence and all these little girls who try to be like Taylor Swift. Well, they're trying to be her color instead of looking for their own. So I think it's a generational thing that we all struggle with. So maybe our generation needs to embrace our colors are what they are, so that we can pass it down to the next generation who passes it down to the next and keeps going.
Be sure and shop with us at therecoveringpreacherskids.com, where a portion of all sales goes to further the ministry of the Deeper House.